Hey guys, let's talk about Paula Jean Welden. Paula was born on October 19th, 1928, and she's been missing since December 1st, 1946, from Bennington, Vermont. At the time of her disappearance, she was 18 years old, 5 feet 5, and 122 pounds. She's a Caucasian female with blonde hair and blue eyes. She has a grayish-colored scar on her left knee, a small scar under her left eyebrow, and a vaccination scar on her left right thigh. She has a cleft chin and an upturned nose. Paula was a sophomore at Bennington College in Bennington, Vermont at the time of her disappearance. She was last seen on December 1st, 1946. She worked the breakfast and lunch shifts at the dining hall, came back to her dormitory room in Dewey Hall, and spoke to her roommate for a while before saying she was going to go to take a study break and go for a hike. She didn't say where she was headed. Paula left campus shortly after 2:30 p.m. She was probably carrying little or no money at the time, and she left behind an uncashed check her parents had sent her for living expenses. She was also underdressed for the cold weather. Paula was hitchhiking near the Bennington campus when a passing motorist picked her up at 2:45 p.m. She told him she was going to hike on the long trail off of Route 9 near Glastonbury Mountain. The driver dropped her off on Route 9 about 3 miles from her destination. Several others saw her that day walking on the trail. The last confirmed sighting of Paula was at 4 p.m. when she spoke to a man on the trail and asked how far it extended. He told her it went all the way to Canada. The sun set at about 5 p.m. and it began snowing a few hours after that, accumulating 3 inches. Her roommate became concerned the next morning when she realized she'd never returned home the previous night. Later that morning, she notified the school authorities of Paula's disappearance. At the time, Bennington students were required to sign themselves out if they planned to stay out past 11 p.m. and check in with the school security officer upon their return. Paula had done neither of those things. When she failed to attend her classes the following Monday, Bennington College officials notified her family and the police. An extensive search of the Long Trail and its environs turned up no sign of Paula and no significant clues. The search was hampered by the fact that Vermont had no state police at the time. Eventually, officials from Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York stepped in to help. Investigators initially believed Paula had gotten lost in the mountains and died of exposure, but as time passed without their finding any sign of her, they began to consider other theories. Authorities looked into Paula's background to see if she might have left of her own accord. She had never had a steady boyfriend and she was a good student, majoring in art, but she had lately become less interested in the subject. She found herself drawn to music and botany instead and may have been thinking of changing her major. Although there were reports that she was somewhat depressed at the time of her disappearance, her family and friends said that she had only had normal problems for a girl her age and was not unhappy enough to take her own life or run away from home. She left all her belongings behind, and her family stated she was not the type of person to leave without warning. There is no hard evidence of foul play in Paula's disappearance, but many people believe she was murdered and buried somewhere near the Long Trail. Paula lived with her parents and 3 younger sisters in Stamford, Connecticut when she was not in school. She enjoyed painting in oils and watercolors, pencil and charcoal sketching, and playing the guitar, and she was physically active and an experienced hiker and camper, in part because of her father's lobbying. In July 1947, Vermont passed a law creating a state police force. Paula's disappearance remains unsolved. There has been no indication of her whereabouts since 1946. If you have any information, please call the Vermont State Police at 802-241-5355.